Okay, let's dive right into this. Welcome to this explainer where we're going to unpack the absolutely fascinating, totally hidden biology of how human bodies adapt to exercise. I mean, we all know hitting the gym makes us stronger, right? But the actual cellular mechanisms happening behind the scenes to create that transformation, they are absolutely incredible. So today, we're taking a magnifying glass to the science of strength.
Picture this: the exact second you pick up a heavy dumbbell, or the moment you push off the ground for an all-out sprint. What is actually happening inside your body in that very split second? We're going to set up a sort of microscopic hero's journey today, because you see, your muscles don't just passively get bigger. No way. They go through a really intense, dramatic process of trauma, signaling, and cellular reconstruction every single time you challenge them.
So here's our roadmap for this explainer. First, we'll look at the spark, then the trigger, next the rebuild, followed by the results, and we'll wrap it all up with our key takeaways. Let's get started.
All right, part one, the spark. Exercise begins.
Here's kind of a surprising fact. Your workout actually begins before a single muscle even moves. It all starts with the nervous system. You can think of it like, well, actually, it's a lot like a high-speed telecom network firing rapid signals across your body. Step 1, your brain decides to lift a weight and shoots a signal down your spinal cord. Step 2, motor neurons carry this electrical message directly to your muscle fibers. And step 3, those fibers are recruited for action. If the weight is really heavy, your nervous system just recruits more muscle fibers to handle the load. Your brain is essentially the foreman out there calling workers to the factory floor.
But how does your body actually fund all this activity? Well, your body has 3 different energy systems, and we can explain them using a simple financial analogy. First, for a heavy lift or an explosive sprint that lasts just a few seconds, you use the ATP PCR system. That's the fast cash right in your pocket. Second, for moderate intensity, like a tough set of 12 reps, you use the glycolytic system. That's more like a checking account. It takes a brief moment to access, but it's there. Finally, for endurance running, you rely on the aerobic or oxidative system, and that's your long-term savings account, giving you a slow, steady stream of energy over a much longer period.
Okay, so as those energy systems fire up, your cardiovascular system reacts. Your heart rate shoots up, oxygen delivery ramps up, and CO2 gets cleared out. But which muscle fibers are actually doing the heavy lifting? Well, it depends entirely on the exercise. Type 1 fibers are slow twitch. They're fatigue-resistant and rely on aerobic energy. Think of your marathon runners. Type 2 fibers, on the other hand, are fast twitch. They are powerful, explosive, anaerobic, and they are the primary fibers your body recruits when you're lifting heavy weights.
Moving on to part 2, the trigger, muscle hypertrophy.
Now that the muscles are firing and totally fueled up, we shift to the inciting incident of our microscopic story. Muscles do not just grow out of nowhere. They're responding to physical trauma and stress. So the crucial point here is that there are 3 main drivers of this. First up, mechanical tension. When you lift weights, you create literal micro tears in the muscle fibers, specifically the myofibrils. This is the absolute primary catalyst for growth. Second is metabolic stress. You know that intense burn you feel? That's caused by a buildup of lactate, hydrogen ions, and cellular swelling. Finally, there's muscle damage, which we usually feel a day or 2 later as delayed onset muscle soreness, or DOMS. Your body recognizes all this trauma and realizes, hey, I need to adapt if I'm going to survive this next time.
Enter the real heroes of our story, satellite cells. These are basically your muscle stem cells. When your muscles experience those micro tears we just talked about, these satellite cells wake up. They basically act like a highly skilled construction crew rushing to a demolition site. They fuse to the damaged muscle fibers and actually donate their nuclei. This is incredibly important because adding nuclei increases the muscle's overall capacity to synthesize protein, which is what allows the muscle fiber to grow larger and stronger than it was before.
But how do the satellite cells and the rest of the body know it's exactly the right time to start building? Well, they get this signal from something called the mTOR pathway. Now, this is a pretty complex signaling cascade, but you can frame it really simply as the biological master switch. Resistance training literally flips this switch to on. When the mTOR pathway is activated, it triggers muscle protein synthesis, commanding the body to start grabbing available protein to rebuild that tissue.
Which brings us to part 3, the rebuild, the recovery process.
Okay, you've broken the muscle down, the alarms are sounding, the switches are flipped. Now, you leave the gym. And this is where we need to slow things down a bit. Let's trace the timeline of this critical cellular repair window. Within the very first hour after your workout, hormonal environments shift completely. Spikes in testosterone, growth hormone, and IGF-1 help set the stage for repair. Around the 24-hour mark, cellular repair usually hits its absolute peak. Your body is just working overtime to patch up those micro tears. And by about 72 hours, this specific repair window generally closes. This timeline right here, this is exactly why resting a muscle group for a day or two between workouts is so absolutely vital. During this recovery window, your body is essentially locked in a tug-of-war between two states: muscle protein synthesis, which builds the muscle up, and muscle protein breakdown, which dismantles it. To actually grow, you must maintain a positive net muscle protein balance. How do you do that? By eating enough total protein. Specifically, amino acids like leucine act as a vital dietary trigger to keep that protein synthesis elevated. Look, if you don't provide the raw building materials through your nutrition, that construction crew we talked about, they have no bricks to rebuild the wall. It's that simple.
But hey, nutrition isn't the whole story. Sleep is when the true magic actually happens. During deep sleep, your body releases the vast majority of its daily growth hormone, and this is what drives the really critical cellular tissue repair. Without deep sleep, your recovery process is severely blunted. Oh, and a quick aside on nutrition here. While we often hear a ton of hype about the perfect anabolic window for a post-workout shake, the science actually shows that your daily total nutrition intake matters way more than perfect pre- or post-workout timing. Hit your protein goals for the day, get some deep sleep, and trust me, your body will rebuild.
All right, part 4, the results, long-term adaptation.
Let's fast forward, say, a few months into the future. A reality that really frustrates a lot of beginners is that in the first 4 to 8 weeks of training, you're going to get significantly stronger, but your muscles might not actually look any bigger yet. Why is that? Well, because those early gains are almost entirely neural adaptations. Your brain is simply getting much better at recruiting motor units, synchronizing them, and reducing neurological inhibition. You are basically upgrading your body's software first. It's really only after about month 2 that significant structural hypertrophy, the actual upgrading of the physical hardware, becomes visible.
And that hardware upgrade, it is totally systemic. Yes, you get the structural changes like myofibrillar hypertrophy, which actually increases the size of the muscle's contractile units. But you also get massive cardiovascular upgrades. Your heart's stroke volume increases, mitochondrial density goes way up, and your VO2 max improves. And it's not even just about the muscles. Your connective tissues, your tendons, your ligaments, and literally even your bones remodel. They become denser and stronger to handle those heavier loads. Exercise literally fortifies your entire physical structure from the inside out.
Now, there is a catch, and it's a big one. It's called progressive overload. Because your body is such an incredible adaptation machine, it will eventually get completely used to whatever stress you place on it. If you go in and lift the exact same weight for the exact same reps for months on end, the biological transformation just halts. Your body basically says, hey, I'm strong enough to survive this now, no need to build more. So to keep growing, your muscles must be continuously challenged with an ever-increasing stimulus. That means more weight, more reps, or less rest time.
And finally, part 5, key takeaways. Let's summarize.
We've covered a ton of microscopic ground today, right? Everything from the brain's first electrical pulse all the way to the long-term remodeling of human bone. So, let's distill this. Here are your 5 essential physiological takeaways. 1. The spark begins with the brain and nervous system initiating the action. 2. The trigger for growth is mechanical tension causing those tiny microtears in your muscle fibers. 3. Satellite cells and the mTR pathway act as your cellular construction crew and the master switch to rebuild those fibers larger. 4. That rebuilding happens entirely outside the gym, making the 24 to 72-hour recovery window of protein and sleep absolutely vital. And 5, just remember that neural strength precedes muscle mass, your software upgrades before your hardware.
So what does this all mean for you? Well, this explainer shows us that our bodies are perfectly, beautifully designed to adapt, overcome, and grow stronger. Every single time you push yourself, a literal microscopic symphony of adaptation plays out inside your cells. The satellite cells, the hormones, the nervous system, the whole shebang. The biology is all there, just waiting for the command. So the only question left for your next workout is, will you provide the stimulus? Thank you so much for joining this explainer, and keep pushing your limits.